Hi, Daily Dosers. My name is Kip Strawbridge. I'm the campus pastor at our Carlsbad campus. And as we begin this week, we're looking at the impact of godly mothers, this Sunday being Mother's Day. And so I wanted to start with just my story. And every time I tell my story, as I retrace my journey of faith, in a sense, my testimony, it always has these mile markers. Just like as you're trying to remember a path, you have these landmark moments that you can go back to as a frame of reference. For me, my testimony is always mile markered by people. And whether it's a youth pastor, Gary Permenter at Mount Vernon Baptist Church in Mississippi, and the impact that was made through just a youth pastor pouring into students. Or I remember even before that, my Sunday school teachers, Wayne and Evelyn Prine, and the impact they made on me, just being godly people in my life. But even before that, it goes all the way back to my mom. My mom begins my faith journey because the impact that she had on me and the impact of her faith in my life is really what laid a foundation for me to follow God the way that I have and been in ministry for over 20 years as a result of that, of just seeing that the greatest value in my life is pouring my time and my energy and my talents into the greatest good that I could do, which is telling others about Jesus and encouraging others to follow him. And that began as a young child, watching my mom do devotions with us, seeing her faith, her patience, her grace, all those characteristics of Christ that I would hear about when she would take us to church, that I would see acted out in her life, that I would try to mirror, and that I would learn when I would disobey or go off course from the way that I was being trained to live according to God's word. And so I want to take us back to a biblical mom as well, and it goes back to Exodus chapter 2. And here's what the story says. It says, "Now a man from the house of Levi went and took as his wife a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she took him in a basket made of bulrush and daubed it with bitumen and pitch." Basically, she tarred the outside of it. And she put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the river bank. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. Now, the reason this was happening, you have to go back, is to Exodus 1. You find out that the new Pharaoh in Egypt had sent out an edict basically to kill all the firstborn sons. And the midwives had protected many of the Hebrew children because they feared God. And eventually he sent out this edict to say, throw all of the babies of the Hebrew kids in the Nile River. So basically they would get eaten up by the crocodiles. And so this is why this mom was hiding her baby in the bushes. And the story continues. It says, "Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river while her young women walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant woman, and she took it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him and said, 'This is one of the Hebrews' children.' Then the sister of the Pharaoh's said to Pharaoh's daughter, 'Shall I go and call a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?' And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, 'Go.' So the girl went and called the child's mother." This is Moses' mom. And said to her, 'Take the child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages.' So the woman took the child and nursed him. And when she grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses because she said, 'I drew him out of the water.'" And that's what Moses means. And so we see this interesting story, the beginning of one of the heroes of the Christian faith, Moses himself, began with a mom's love of trying to protect her son from an evil Pharaoh who wanted to kill all the Hebrew babies. And this love this mom had, she hid him as long as she could until she couldn't. It's hard to hide a crying young baby. So she then put him in this basket, hoping that Pharaoh's daughter might come and find him, which happened. And then the way God works in mysterious ways, she gets called to then come back and nurse her own child, unbeknownst to Pharaoh's daughter, and take him and raise him basically until he's old enough to then go back and live with Pharaoh's daughter. And so I can only imagine that in this, that she had this time spent with him, this time where she got to nurse him, to tell him stories of the faith of their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the God of the Israelite nation. And she got to pour into and invest in him, knowing that one day she was going to have to let him go and hand him back over and trust that God would be with him and protect him. And in the same way, I see that same story, and it reminds me of my own mom, that I was raised by her, nurtured by her, taught to follow God, and then was sent out on my own, and she now has to watch from a distance. And I'm sure in the same way as Moses' mom and my mom both whispered prayers of protection and providence, but ultimately trusted God. And it's the impact of women who trust God and then let them go and follow on their own. And so with that, I just wanted to say, thanks, Mom. Thanks for the impact that you have. Thanks to all the moms this Mother's Day week as we celebrate you, the impact you have that you're going to have as you raise your kids and then send them out and trust God with them. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks, Mom.